Welcome to the Thursday cross-reference episode of the Selah Time to Pause podcast from Plexus Salvation Army, an online church in the UK. I'm Ian, and today I'll be continuing our thought from Monday as I cross-reference that passage where Jesus told Simon that he would change his name to Peter with the other times we encounter him, Simon, or Peter, or Simon, or Peter.
I will stop and breathe in your presence. Just breathe. Just breathe.
Simon was quick, impulsive, generous, impetuous. He was a man who must express his feelings, a man who, if he sees or realises anything, must say so and must then act. Ideas demanded immediate movement on Simon's part. Procrastination just wasn't part of his makeup. He was quick on the draw, a man who did things first and only thought them over, sometimes sadly, later on. People like that will make mistakes, and Simon made mistakes. People like that will do things they regret, and Simon again had many. But people like that make other things too, that they don't regret and that are not mistakes. And in time, Simon Peter would also do wonderful things. When Simon first came to Jesus, for he was still known as Simon then, Jesus already knew him through and through, knew his impetuous, unstable, hot, quick, undisciplined nature, but he still gave him a new name. He called him Peter, which means rock, and so gave him something to live up to. It's not difficult to imagine the quiet laughs and sly winks of others when they heard of it. The idea of Simon being called Rock, it will have seemed funny to them, but was it? Well, the entire story of Simon Peter is that of a man trying to live up to Jesus' expectation and promise. For Peter never forgot that this new name, which to the others at least for a time was just an amusing nickname, was given to him in the form of a promise. And he knew that Jesus meant it. You shall be Peter. From that point on, we encounter Peter time and time again throughout the New Testament. He's there in each of the Gospel accounts, placed first in each list of disciples and present in almost all the stories where the disciples are mentioned by name. He's there in the book of Acts, preaching on the day of Pentecost, healing a beggar at the temple gates, raising Dorcas to life, and receiving the famous vision from God that started the move of Christianity to the Gentiles, to name just a few of many. He's mentioned also in the letters of Paul, and even two of his own letters made their way into the Bible. Peter is a significant character. Yet, every so often, we meet Simon again. We find Jesus calling him again by his old name at the Last Supper.
Simon, Simon, stay on your toes. Satan has tried his best to separate all of you from me, like chaff from wheat. Simon, I've prayed for you in particular, that you not give in or give out. When you have come through the time of testing, turn to your companions and give them a fresh start.
And then in the garden,
Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him, and he became deeply troubled and distressed. He told them, My soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. He went on a little further and fell to the ground and prayed. Then he returned and found the disciples asleep. He said to Peter, Simon, are you asleep? Couldn't you watch with me for even an hour?
When the 11 disciples were sharing the news of the resurrection with the two who'd been walking to Emmaus, they told them,
The Lord has really risen. He appeared to Simon.
And then on the beach as they walked, the risen Jesus called him Simon again.
Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, Peter replied. You know I love you. Jesus repeated the question. Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, Peter said. You know I love you. A third time he asked him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt that Jesus asked the question a third time. He said, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you.
And although in his first letter to the church he announced himself as Peter,
This letter is from Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ.
In the second he himself calls back to his old name.
This letter is from Simon Peter, a servant and apostle of Jesus Christ.
Wherever we find the old name of Simon being used, we have a reminder that the promised change is not yet complete. Simon Peter is not yet fully Peter. There are still elements of the old Simon remaining. At the Last Supper, in the conversation between Jesus and Simon Peter, we see the old presumptuous Simon coming through, the man who fancies himself capable of anything and who'll rush in, the man who couldn't, or perhaps wouldn't, see the weakness of his own humanity and thought himself self-sufficient and beyond needing any sort of help. I'm ready for anything with you. I'd go to jail for you. I'd die for you. Yet Jesus knew better and so prayed for Simon. It's an interesting prayer when you examine it. For it's not, as we perhaps often think, a prayer that Peter would not deny him, but one that Simon would come through the time of testing. The prayer is that Simon will swallow his pride and return to the fellowship of the other disciples, despite his failure. That return would not have been easy, for even from the mouths of the other disciples,
"The Lord has really risen. He appeared to Simon."
we see that they all knew about his fall. Rarely are our failures totally private. They knew that he'd ceased to be the promised rock. They knew that his precedence and influence were gone. In the garden, in the words as rendered by the King James Version as, "Simon, sleepest thou?" we can perhaps hear the subtext of Jesus asking, "Simon, is that you? Simon, where is Peter? He would have kept awake." As Jesus is facing his own internal battle, Jesus reminds Simon Peter that he too is facing an internal battle of his own, the battle of whose will is to be done. And on the beach, as Jesus restores his friend, he calls him Simon 3 times again, 1 for each denial. He takes him back to the very beginning of his story, back to the start and that moment when they first met. By calling him Simon, Jesus reminds Peter that the invitation to follow him had never been based upon Peter's marvellous exploits. No, the invitation had been given to Simon, who had not yet done a thing. Simon Peter may have had 2 names, but the story of Simon Peter is not the story of 2 men, of Simon and Peter, one man who was and one man who is yet to be. It's the story of one singular man.
This letter is from Simon Peter, a servant and apostle of Jesus Christ.
The story of Simon Peter is the story of a man who lived in the in-between times, a man in the process of transformation, and in that way it's our story too. Just like Simon, the present is different to our past, but just like Peter, our future will be more different still. Like Simon Peter, when we decide to follow Jesus, our own internal battles will not end. Whose will we follow? Will we sometimes fail to do that which we know God is calling us to? Will we sometimes do that which we know God to be calling us away from? When we next fall, will we, like Simon, have the courage to swallow our pride and return to the fellowship of friends despite our failure and despite our embarrassment? When we fall, will we allow ourselves to hear the gracious call of Jesus that reminds us that we were not called into his service for our goodness and our purity or for who we might become, but we were called purely because he loved us as we were and as we are? Will we have the courage of Simon Peter to live in the in-between times, to find our identity in the sometimes uncomfortable process of transformation?
Jesus, you are changing me. By your Spirit, you're making me like you. Jesus, you're transforming me. That your loveliness may be seen in all I do. You are the potter, and I am the clay. Help me to Jesus, you are changed.